if the person was able to get into anatomical position, we called that 0 and called it good. Okay? At the elbow, 0 is full range of motion of extension, and so we actually need to measure that as a starting point for the elbow. So the elbow, the knee, and then one of our motions at the ankle are one of those unusual times when we actually really care a lot about being able to get to 0. Now, so typically at the elbow, you're going to measure extension first and then flexion, okay? The common end feel for extension is going to be bony, although for some of you, you may have a bony or a capsular end feel. Now, the table is going to be in our way, so we're going to need to support the upper arm. And you need to have room for your goni, so you have to tuck it in a little bit. There you go. And go ahead and just relax into extension for me. Now, just as we did before, I can test for end feel. So that's capsular, not bony, right? Because I've got to bounce back. Okay. Amy, is it you that has just insane? Yeah.
I warned Christine.
What?
She's my partner today. I warned her.
So don't freak out when you get some bizarre number. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna line up our stationary arm. So just like for goniometry, our rules of goniometry, our stationary arm is going to be proximal, our moving arm is going to be distal. We care about the positioning of our arms more than the axis. We're going to bisect the humerus, and so we can use the acromion as our landmark here. We can use the radial styloid process as our landmark down here. Then we're going to put that goni right over the lateral epicondyle. And this big goni is the one you want. Yeah, you're pretty good. You've got about 1 degree of hyperextension. Okay? So then I'm going to have to go ahead and go all the way. I can test the end feel, which is also capsular. For a lot of people, that's going to be soft tissue. Now, this axis is no longer on her lateral epicondyle, because if I did, I wouldn't be able to bisect her forearm. Do you see that? So it's going to be a lot more distal now into flexion. Okay. Now, if you gave me a reading of 33 degrees, that would be wrong, right? Because that would mean that she went from here to here. But she, in fact, started here and went this way. So 33, I don't know what that is, 157. No, 147, thank you. So she went 1 degree of hyperextension into 147 degrees of flexion. So if you remember how that gets documented, this is one of those weird times for documenting as well. So we're in the objective, we're in the objective part of the note. We're in tests and measures. We're in range of motion. And I measured elbow. Now, I use a check mark for flexion. When you're typing a note, you would spell that out. And then we've got our elbow extension. And I measured Emily's right side, and I did active range of motion. Okay, so for flexion, if I'm going to document those separately, because she could get beyond 0, I can document 0 and then 147 degrees. She had 1 degree of extension, right? She went from 0 to 1 degree of hyperextension, so I could document it like this. Now, the alternate way would be I could document these two together. Now this becomes a negative number, okay? Because I'm trying to show that she went from beyond 0, this is only 1 degree, right? All the way to 147. So if I didn't call this a negative number, saying that she's below 0 on this side, and I just wrote 1 to 147, what that would actually mean is that she was a little shy of 0 and then went this way. So the negative 1 in this case is showing that she actually started beyond 0 when I wrote those together. Okay, so this is an example of someone who has some hyperextension. If instead she was lacking full extension, which would be my case, let's say she she started at 10 degrees of flexion. So the arm, like if we go back to this picture, the arm is now starting here and going this way, right? And this is 10 degrees. We would write 10 degrees to 147, but now we're not going to write 0 to 10 because that would mean that this person could go from 0 to 10 in this direction, right? This person can't get to 0, so we're going to say this person lacks, trust me, lacks 10 degrees. Okay? And there isn't a range here because the person can't get to the starting position. Okay? So that's how it would be written if you had someone who didn't have full extension. Then down here, if you were going to write them together, it would be 10 degrees to 147 degrees because again, we're going from here to here and we never crossed that 0 line. All right, so documenting elbow, we're going to see the exact same thing at the knee. So you want to make sure that you understand this documentation for hyperextension at the elbow versus lacking extension at the elbow. Okay? All right. We've got two other motions at the elbow we need to measure. One is the carrying angle. The carrying angle, this is Maddie's thing, right? Don't you have the crazy? Yeah. So you're going to have the patient lying on the table with their arm flat. You're simply bisecting the two segments. And it's a single number because you're simply documenting the person's arm posture. Okay? So in this case, it would be 17 degrees. Okay? So you're simply bisecting your two segments and getting a measure of someone's posture. And this is called the carrying angle. Okay? The next one, you get to sit up. Get to. I know you're getting awfully comfortable down there. So for pronation and supination, so that's going to be the rotation of our forearm, it's kind of a goofy measurement because we're not sticking our axis on anything. So I'm going to have you, so you want the patient to keep their elbow bent to 90 degrees and keep it tucked into your side, perfect. And then what I'm going to have you do is we're going to rotate this way to measure how much you can move in that direction. What you're going to do is, if you're doing supination, you're going to put the goniometer and the two arms on the inside of the arm. If you're going to measure pronation, you're going to put the goni with the two arms straight up on the outside. Okay? Then what you're going to do is, I'm going to have you rotate this way for me. Keeping the stationary arm straight up and down, you're going to come and you're going to make sure that this stays vertical, and you're going to make sure that this is equally across the radius and ulna. And you can go ahead and relax. And so I have 0 to 83 degrees, okay, and 0 to 80 is going to be normal. Now for pronation, I'm going to go the other way, so we're going to go this way. Now again, you don't want to be distal to the styloid processes, you want to be on just distal to the, just proximal to the ulnar head. Now, it's really a subjective measure because you want it to be equally pressure on both bones because it's easy to have it cattywampus. Okay, so you really want to be putting equal pressure there. This you need to make sure you stay vertical, which is my bane. There you go, and relax. And I got 0 to 79 on that one for pronation. Now you can do those tests passively as well. So I'm stabilizing the arm. I'm taking her to end range. Okay, so that's capsular in that direction. And capsular on that direction as well. Okay? All right, so those are your only goniometric measurements at the elbow. So flexion, extension, carrying angle, and then pronation and supination. All right?